In our last video, we did this particular limit and talked about how it doesn't exist because the left-hand side and the right-hand side of 0 are approaching two different numbers. So now we're going to talk about a way to define limits in this particular sense. In this situation, we're going to define what's called the left-hand limit and the right-hand limit. The idea is what's happening only to the left side and what's happening only to the right side. So we do have different notations for this. A left-hand limit, we write the limit as x approaches x0, and we write this minus sign to indicate from the left. A right-hand limit, we write a little plus sign to indicate that it's from the right. And whenever we see these little minus signs or these little plus signs, all that's saying is we only care about the left-hand side or we only care about the right-hand side. So let's do some examples. Here we have this graph, and the first limit I want to find says the limit as x approaches -2 with the little minus sign, so from the left. And as I look at x equal to -2, I only care what happens on the left side. So I only care what it's approaching to the left, which I can see is just 2. The one on the other hand, the x to -2 with the little plus sign, means I only care what's happening on the right-hand side of this. And on the right hand, we can see we're getting close to 0. So in this case, these limits are actually not equal, and that's fine. A right and left-hand limit don't always have to be equal. Now let's look at what happens as x approaches 3 from the left. As I'm getting close to x equal to 3, I can see that this is getting closer and closer to -2 if I look at just the left-hand side. If I look at just the right-hand side, I can also see that the graph is getting closer and closer and closer to -2. So in this case, my right-hand limit and my left-hand limit are actually equal. And in general, the right-hand and left-hand limit will be equal as long as the limit actually existed. You'll notice in this case, if I would have just asked you the limit as x approaches 3, I would have probably guessed it's -2. However, if I ask you the limit as x approaches -2, it actually wouldn't exist because the right-hand and left-hand limit are not equal. Let's do another example. Here I have the limit as x approaches 0 from the left because I have the little minus sign. So if I look at what's happening to this graph to the left of 0, I can see that it's just increasing forever and without bound, which tells me that that limit is infinite. On the other hand, if I look at from the right, this little plus sign, I'll notice that this graph is actually getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and actually going down to -infinity. So in this case, the left-hand limit would be infinite, the right-hand limit is -infinity.